Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, please check out my other videos. I have a lot of videos about Omega Seamaster watches and other watches that I'm interested in. Today's subject is the first generation Omega Aqua Terra. I have done a hands-on review of one of these watches before, but I wanted to, and I've done guides of other Omega watches, Seamasters, but I wanted to do a guide to the first gen Aqua Terra. Also including the Railmasters of that era because they're virtually the same watch. So these watches were available in 4 sizes, at least for men, ranging from 36 all the way to 49 millimeter. They were available with quartz movements, automatic movements, and the largest Railmaster was available with a manual movement as well. The automatics are all based on the 2500 or its no-date counterpart, the 2403, but there were different varieties made. The most common you'll see is the 2500B or C, and the beat rate is different in those. It could be a subject matter for a whole other video. But let me start off with the first model, and I picked this one because this is the first Aqua Terra I ever owned. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. It was a very beautiful watch. This is a quartz, as you can see, with a silver dial. The reference number for the larger 39 millimeter version is 2517.30, and for the smaller 36 millimeter version 2518.30. So that 4th digit changes depending on the size of the case. And here is the same thing, the quartz first gen Aqua Terra, but with a black dial. And you'll see here the black dial has a different reference number at the 5th digit, so these end with .50 rather than 30. Same thing will hold true for the next watch, which will be the blue dial version. And I really like that the Omegas of this era had these rather simple reference numbers that you could easily remember. It definitely made things more convenient. Today, Omega uses these very long reference numbers, which do contain a lot of encoded information, but they're just impossible to remember, at least for me. So here, as I said, the blue dial version, that ends with .80. These are all really beautiful watches. I think exemplars of what the first generation Aqua Terra was all about. Aqua Terra is water and land, so implying a watch that can kind of go anywhere, go between the line between dress and sport. All have these simple, beautiful dials. Common feature as well, so they all have the smooth bezel, non-rotating, not like a Seamaster Professional. And another common theme is the really clean dial, as you can see here. And this is the automatic version of what I just showed, the quartz. So these are also sort of the basic quartz automatic first generation Aqua Terra. The key thing to note is the quartz was only available in 2 sizes, whereas the automatics, at least for these basic automatic models, was available in 3 sizes. So the additional size for the automatic watch is the 42.2 millimeter, which has 21 millimeter lug width. Quite a large watch, especially for a watch of this sort of design where there's a lot of glass and a thin bezel. So I have owned and worn this type of watch. I would definitely only recommend it to a person with a fairly large wrist, because the watch wears larger than its diameter would suggest. And that pretty much holds true for all of the first generation Aqua Terra. Even the 36 millimeter, it does not wear like a very small watch, at least to me. Here is the blue dial version. Again, like the quartz, these basic automatic first gen Aqua Terras were available in silver, black, and blue dial. And that was sort of that's where you start off with. And then there will be, I will be showing through the course of this video some more unique and different versions of the Aqua Terra. Those versions are all far fewer in number than these first basic models. That even holds true for the leather strap variants, which I'm showing here. As you can see, the reference number is slightly different for the leather strap variant. The middle set of digits still denotes the dial color. The last 2 digits on these watches denotes the strap color. And the leather strap models are very rare in comparison to the bracelet models. I would say they're a mere fraction of the bracelet models. I don't know if that's reflective of the original sales figures, but that is the case today. So you will not find many factory leather strap Aqua Terras. However, there's absolutely no difference in the watch head. So if you buy a bracelet version, you can just simply take the bracelet off and wear it on a strap like this. If you're looking for a strap like this, there's a Hirsch, I believe it's called the Duke model. It's very similar looking to this factory Aqua Terra strap, and the watch looks really great on it. I've tried that combination myself, and I think it's a great match. And here's a blue dial paired with a black strap. I didn't even know this existed. It's just interesting. You come across a lot of unique things when you look for the different models in Omega's catalog. And this is nothing compared to what Omega's making today. I couldn't even possibly make a video summarizing all the Aqua Terra models that are currently in production. So this is a really cool one. This one and this one that follows, these both have white dials. The previous one had blue markers and hands. This one has gold markers and hands. These are very much in demand. I feel fewer in number than the basic Aqua Terras. Really beautiful ones. This one is a really interesting model. So a lot of people look for those, the last two I showed in the 36 millimeter, but they don't exist in that size. Those were only made in the largest two sizes. However, there was this watch, which is a Japan-only mother of pearl dial watch with blue markers and hands that was only made in the 36 millimeter size. These watches are quite rare. As I said, they were only made for sale in Japan, and I would say fairly collectible today. And like the first set of watches, Omega did make these white dial Aqua Terras, did offer them with factory leather strap, as you can see here. This is the blue hand version, and this is the gold hand version. Just like the bracelet counterparts, these were only offered in the two larger sizes, the 42.2 and the 39.2 millimeter case size. So if you like this type of dial and you want a smaller one, your only choice is going to be that mother of pearl version I showed a moment ago. And this is a cool one. This is a quartz but two-tone Aqua Terra. Omega has totally stopped making quartz men's watches for quite a number of years already. So this is towards the end of that era. If you really like quartz, as I do, this is basically all you're going to be able to get in terms of Omega. These two-tone watches are really beautiful. They have a solid 18-karat gold bezel and crown, and those little portions of the links that are gold are also solid gold. So it's a really nicely made watch. Perhaps a tad old-fashioned for some people, but I think they're quite beautiful. And this is, as you can see, a solid gold case Aqua Terra. And these, again, like the leather strap version I mentioned a moment ago, are much more scarce than the steel models. You rarely see these for sale on platforms like eBay, or they're much fewer in number compared to the steel models. And obviously, being gold, they command quite a high price. I think they are still a good value based on the prices I see for them, and in some ways I think you could even argue they're a little more exclusive than a Rolex of the same period of time. I mean, Rolex during this period of time made tons of gold watches, whereas the Aqua Terra was definitely more, the Omega's focus was more on the stainless steel models, and these were much fewer in number back then as they are today. And they really don't fall short at all in quality. They're really well made, comfortable watches, and that goes for both gold and steel. And here's a beautiful one, solid gold bracelet, solid gold case. You know, this is interesting for being at a much higher price tier than the first quartz watches I showed you, even though they're so similar. But with the amount of precious metal here, obviously this is going to be a much more expensive watch. These are some interesting models here. There's going to be 3 of them. I didn't even know of their existence, and to be honest, I didn't even know if I should include them here, because they have definitely a more feminine design. They seem more intended to be a watch for women. However, they are 36.2 millimeter in case diameter, same as the smaller men's size Aqua Terras that I started out the video with. So being that I consider that a men's size for this generation of Aqua Terra, I figured they do belong here. They, as I said, there's definitely a more feminine design to them. They have mother of pearl dials, they have diamond hour markers, and a diamond encrusted bezel. Very beautiful watches. And here is sort of a detour on the route we're going here. This is, as you can see right under the word Omega, a Railmaster. And the Railmaster is a old line of watch with some history, but Omega sort of reissued the Railmaster during the period that the first gen Aqua Terra was being made. And as you can see, it's basically the same watch. The case is identical, the bracelet is identical, the dimensions are identical. The only difference being, as you can see, there's no date, and you've got the 12, 3, 6, and 9 Arabic numerals on the dial. Interesting thing with the Railmaster is the 36 millimeter Aqua Terra, I would say, is the most common size available today. But in the Railmaster is the reverse. The 36 millimeter is the rarest size. The steel ones were offered in 42, 39, and 36. Again, the 36 are quite rare. And this solid gold variant here, as far as I could find, was only offered in the middle 39.2 millimeter size. Just like its regular Aqua Terra counterpart, the gold versions of these watches are really rare, and definitely, you know, a special piece if you happen to be lucky enough to own one. Here, speaking of special pieces, this is one I found during researching the video. This is the same as the gold Railmaster I just showed, but with a special railroad theme case back. From what I found, this was intended for the Chinese market and was made in a limited number of, I think, 1,895 pieces per variety. Although I'm not too certain about that. If someone knows more about that, please feel free to let me know. But as I said, the Railmasters are essentially the same as the Aqua Terra, with the exception of this Railmaster. Although it does share the same twisted lug as all the Aqua Terras do, this manual wind Railmaster has a case size of 49.2 millimeters. So I was really shocked when I first learned about this watch many years ago, and I was also quite shocked when I learned of the varieties I'm showing here. This is a red mother of pearl version of the watch, and to follow will be a blue mother of pearl version. So really unusual. I mean, a 49 millimeter watch is going to be very large. They have 24 millimeter lugs as well. They do have a short lug to lug distance, which is somewhat of a consolation, but I would still say these are all very rather giant watches. Here is a gold version of the Railmaster, and as you can see, the reference number is the longer, more modern reference number format on these watches. So I assume these probably came out towards the very end of the first generation of Aqua Terra, when Omega was starting to change its reference number format to the new format. This is an interesting one because it's white gold and looks just like the steel one, but it has a retro Omega logo, so that's how you know that it's the white gold one and not the steel one. Back to the regular Aqua Terra. This is a very beautiful watch in my opinion. This is a two-tone, as you can see, solid 18 karat gold bezel and crown. Except here the center links are not solid 18 karat gold, unfortunately. They're not gold plated, thankfully, either. They're gold capped, so you know it's a fairly thick layer of gold that you can see when you hold the link on the side, but it's not solid gold like the current Aqua Terras. Nonetheless, very beautiful watches, and pretty scarce from what I can surmise. Speaking of scarce, this is probably one of the rarest of the Aqua Terras, and most unusual because it's the only first gen Aqua Terra that I know of that has a red dial. This is based on the standard Aqua Terra in the 39 millimeter size. Everything about it is the same as the early watches I showed in the video, except for the red dial color. The interesting thing to note about this watch is that it was intended not only for sale only in Japan, but only for sale by a particular department store in Japan. So that explains to you why that is a rather hard watch to come by. And here are, again, back to like the gold versions of these watches I showed, 36 millimeter case size Aqua Terras that have a more feminine dial design. All three of these, like the gold ones I showed earlier, have a mother of pearl dial. They have diamonds on the dial, and the latter two have diamonds on the bezel as well. Again, I included them because I consider the 36mm size a men's size, especially for this model of first generation Aqua Terra. As I said, all first generation Aqua Terras wear large due to the thin bezel and the large glass. So I would not shy away from them, even in the 36mm size. If you don't typically wear watches of that size, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how well it wears on a variety of wrists. So that brings us to the end here. I think I covered most of them, if not all. But if I missed a model, if you know about a model or some special edition, I would love to hear about it, because it's quite hard to keep track of all of these watches. And I would also like to know about your experiences with these watches and what you think. If you have any questions as well, please feel free to drop me a line. And I hope this was helpful. If you have not yet explored the Aqua Terra line of watches, I highly encourage you to do so. I think that's a great introduction to Omega. I think they still present a phenomenal value as well. So, till the next video. Thanks again.